and Jake Sauer, and Steve Litchow is our emergency management chief, and Jake Sauer, the county's public safety director. Hopefully, as we go through this, we're going to learn a lot and be better. This time, I'll turn it over to Director Sauer and Chief Litchow for a 20-minute presentation. Thank you, and we'll take questions after it's over.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. If you give me a thumbs up that you can hear me through my phone. Can you hear me through my phone?
I can.
Okay, very good. Good evening, everyone. I don't think Director Sauer is going to be able to make it tonight, but maybe so. My name is Steve Litcher. I'm Chief of Emergency Management, and it's my pleasure to speak to you all here tonight. This is being recorded, and Mayor, I'll send the link to Jeannie, so if you want to put it on your website or whatever, we can. Just real quick about myself. I've known the mayor probably since he was a little tot. Used to work with his dad many years ago. I'm a fairly newcomer to Manatee County. I only came here in 1956, so I've been here a few days. And also, I've only been in public safety here in Manatee County for 48 years, part of which actually worked for Bradenton City Police Department. So been around a number of years, seen a lot of things, and I'm going to try to run through this PowerPoint rather quickly, but enough that you will hopefully get some good tips, and then we can progress onward. So I'm hoping that everybody can see my screen. If not, you can hear what I'm saying. We're going to go over knowing your home, knowing your level, evacuation tips, how to harden. I'm sorry. And then shelter and sandbag locations. So last year was a little busy year for hurricanes. We were supposed to get 16 named storms and 8 hurricanes. In turn, we got 30 storms and 13 hurricanes. Very, very, very busy year. But I want to say this, and you'll hear me repeat throughout. It only takes the one. It only takes one. I'll be talking about Hurricane Michael in 2018, and I'm redialing you, Mayor. For some reason, we disconnected. Hopefully you can hear me again. Somehow we got disconnected, but it only takes one throughout. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Here's the forecast for this year. Average is 14 a year, storms, 7 hurricanes. We're going to see predicted, and again, predicted is 16 to 20 and 7 and 10. So a little bit busier than normal, but we're hoping it won't be as busy as last year. So these are the names. If you made the top list, good for you. Maybe your spouse or family member would say, yes, indeed, you are truly a storm addict. So let's see. But this is just the names. If we run out like last year, we'll use the Greek alphabet. Busiest time of the year for hurricane season is mid-August through mid-October. But, and I want to say but, a hurricane can occur anytime. And I think there's only been 1 month a year there's been no hurricane, and that was February. But if you've lived here in the city of Bradenton or Manatee County for any length of time, you know a good afternoon rainstorm can do major damage. You know we get localized flooding if we get too much rain at once, but that will usually subside in a short period of time, but it can occur anytime. And what I want you to know is those afternoon rainstorms were unpredicted. Like about 6 weeks ago now, we had a tornado touchdown. Now it's called IMG Country Club, used to be El Conquistador. That touchdown out there took 5 roofs off and caused about $1.3 million damage. And that was totally out of nowhere, not expected, and no warning. So we're just not worried about just hurricane season. You truly have to be prepared all year round. The other thing I want to make sure you're aware of, and this is more studies and studies, is just like now, I just saw an alert. There's a storm out in the Atlantic already. We shouldn't have anything to worry about. But when a storm gets into the Gulf, it can go from your afternoon rainstorm to a Category 4 or 5 in 3 days or less. And that's kind of scary because we can watch those storms come off the coast of Africa or form in the Atlantic, and we can watch them for a week or 2 weeks at a time and kind of gauge. But those that get formed up in the Atlantic can go from nothing to major in 3 days. So again, be prepared, know what you're going to do, and so forth, and have a plan. Speaking of plans, our planning guides for 2021 will be out around June the 1st. Like everything else, there's a delay. They'll also be online. I'll just keep saying the best website to know for information is mymanatee.org, mymanatee.org. And if you forget anything else after that, if you go to that in the help bar, you can say hurricane guide, or you can say shelter, you can say sandbags, and it'll take you there. But we will have those dispersed to the city halls, to the libraries, etc. If you need some now, the 2020s are still out, same maps, same phone number, just an updated version. So they'll be coming out about June the 1st, but everything currently out there is still current and correct. We used to say, and I say used to say, prepare for 3 to 5 days. Now you need to prepare for 7 to 10 days because studies have shown that power can be out, water can be cut off, etc. So you need to be prepared for at least a week at a time. Other things in your disaster kit, although you may not be required to wear a mask, that still might be a smart thing to have. Gloves and sanitizer, depending on where you're going to be, who you're going to be around. Not mandatory, but still a good idea to have. A hurricane kit, or a disaster kit, really is what I should call it, is because it's good year round. Some of you may have moved from up north. I understand, but I've never seen it. A blizzard kit or winter storm kit you keep in your basement or cellar has clothing, food, water, canned goods, toilet paper, etc., etc. Whatever you had in that kit up north, you need down here except your snow shovel and your winter coat. Everything else you should have in a disaster kit. Canned foods, things like that. What we like to remind people is, and kind of suggest, that go ahead and get stocked up on some canned foods, water, etc. And then come November, towards the end of November, if you haven't eaten it already, you have already paid for it, maybe give it to a charity for a food drive. I mean, if you haven't eaten that can of baked beans or beef stew in 6 months, maybe re-gift it to a food drive, Salvation Army, to one of the churches, Turning Point, etc. The other thing we have to worry about is the little ones. Now, what you may not have is a little one at home with you, but you may have grandchildren, great-grandchildren, nieces, or nephews. Why do we live in Florida? Beautiful weather, beautiful climate. What happens during the summertime? Friends, family come to visit, and I can tell you, because of my little granddaughter, if we got no power and lost power and a storm was coming and she didn't have her iPad, oh my. But again, a lot of us grew up with coloring books, activity books, board games, and things like that, plus snacks for the little ones. So again, you may not have children at home, but if those wee little ones, as I call them, come visit you during the summer, please have something ready for them just in case a storm would come by. What else do you need to think about? I call them your fur babies. We all love our animals, and you have to do the same for your animals, just like you do your family, whether it's the wee little ones or your spouse or your kinfolk or whoever's living with you. You have to prepare the animals too. If you have to evacuate, or even if you don't, you need to have enough food, water, medicine on hand for them for, again, 7 to 10 days. If you got to take it to a shelter, you need their shot records. If you do, you want to take along a pet carrier, and so forth. Everything I'm covering today is also in our hurricane guides, so and available online. So here's an interesting thing, Manatee County Building Code. And Mayor, I'm sorry, I don't know what your building codes are, but I'm going to guess it's pretty much alike. But you can go online, again, to mymanatee.org/manatee ready and find out the construction of your home. So 2012 on, 150 mile an hour winds, 2002 to 12, 130 mile an hour winds. And after that, lessens. Now, that's not to say that you have an older home that you didn't upgrade, you didn't get a new roof, the new roof got strapped down, et cetera, but this is just a rule of thumb. So if we say a tropical storm's coming in and you've got a fairly new home, your wind is probably 130 mile, 150 mile an hour wind, and that's where we say know your home, know the construction of your home. The other one I want you all to know about is evacuations. We do those for two reasons. One is the storm surge, and that's that wall of water that comes in off the Gulf of Mexico, either across the island or it could work its way through the bay and up the river some. That's that wall of water that we're concerned about on evacuation level. The other reason is a manufacturer, a mobile home, they're not constructed to take very high winds. So when we say evacuate, and I say we, it's a concerted effort between the counties and all the cities. We meet up with the city of Bradenton, city of Palmetto, all the beaches, and make a joint decision on those levels. But manufactured mobile homes, very important because of the wind. Preparing your home, important. Shutters, plywood across the windows, but a big thing is lawn furnitures, barbecue grills, planters in your yard, because those become projectiles not only for you, but your neighbor. So if you're going to be gone a while, maybe pick up that lawn furniture, put it in your garage, where if a storm comes through, it doesn't pick it up and become a projectile. Bicycles, lawn furniture, pottery, etc. Hurricane windows are great, shutters are great, but secure your home. A little thing, we see the picture of the car, fill up your gas tank. If you know a storm's coming, fill up your gas tank. So let's see, generators, a lot of people have questions about generators, and I can say they run anywhere from $200 to $20,000. It's kind of like the safety of your home. Do you just have a lock on your door? Do you have an alarm system? Do you have cameras? And really it gets down to what is it that you want to run at your residence? Do you want to run a light in your refrigerator? Maybe you could do that on a $200 generator, but if you wanted to run your house just like everyday air conditioner, refrigerator, washer, dryer, all that, then you're looking at probably somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000. Again, that's your choice of what direction you want to go, because in Hurricane Irma, people threw out, and I think including the city, had people without power from an hour to 14 days, and it become very uncomfortable. So again, it's your choice how much you need that power and how much you want to spend. A couple little things is, if you live in an area of a HOA, usually you have to go through your architect review committee, and we ask you not to plug your main power supply into the generator, because you can get backfeed. And the other thing we want to remind you of is, no matter what size generator you might get, make sure it's ventilated. Don't put it in your garage, don't put it on your lanai, don't put it in your house, including a barbecue grill, because people die from carbon monoxide. So be very careful with generators and grills, not putting them inside. Another item is when winds are sustained at 45 mile an hour or more, EMS and fire quit responding. 55 mile an hour sustained winds or more, law enforcement quits responding. During Hurricane Irma, there were no police or fire or EMS responding here locally for almost 12 hours because the winds were just too strong to protect those people and the equipment. Equipment can be replaced, but the people can't. So just know that if you're feeling ill, don't wait to the last minute. Don't wait till the storm hits. But it's a reality that they cannot come out in the heavy winds or rains, or heavy winds, I'm sorry. Knowing your level is what evacuation level you live in, and then I'm going to show you where the sandbag locations and shelters are. So again, if you only remember mymanatee.org, and you could go in and say know your level or sandbags, but the additional links here will take you to it. So let's talk about know your level. If you clicked on that link or you went to mymanatee.org and put in know your level, you would see a screen like this. If you look down at the bottom where it says enter your address, I entered 1112 Manatee Avenue West, hit search. And in one of the many blocks there under public safety, if you look at the top, it says evacuation level C or D. The reason it has two there is that's a big piece of property. That's the county administration building complex. So if that was my resident, I would go with evacuation level C, because if you went with D, you may not be able to get in or out of your property, but you can enter any address in Manatee County and it will take you to that and give you what evacuation. In this case, you can look down. Obviously, you live in the city. It's the Bradenton Police Department and the City of Bradenton Fire Department. And then if you go further on that link, if you see about halfway down, it shows year built, and then that goes back to the prior slide that I had about knowing your home. So in this case, that building was built in 1989. Worst case scenario, they'd be good for about 90-mile-an-hour wind. If it was 2002 or 12, of course, a better roof situation. That's not saying, again, if you, not just because you had your shingles replaced, what you need is the roof strapping, tile downs, and etc. So those are important items there. This map, this is knowing where the shelters are. Those little things that look like, I call them pineapples, are actually sandbags. Right now they're colored black because those sites are not open. You can go to this map, and if you actually look in the map, several of those, one of the locations is in the city, I believe. One is over in Palmetto. GT Bray usually is one. Would tell you which sandbag locations are open. We also publicize during a storm. If the city governments also open up sandbag locations, which they do a lot of times, we will help publicize those locations. I think, Mayor, y'all use your city yard and some of those other locations. So those would be publicized. And then the little red schoolhouses are shelters. Obviously, they're all closed now. They're public schools. If they open up, they turn green. We have 25 of those. We do not open all at one time. We phase open them, and we open them in. If one was coming in off the island, we'd open some on the west side quicker than the east side if they're coming just, or coming maybe further in town if they're coming from the east. So they're not always open at once. So don't go, oh yeah, I live right next to Manatee High School. That's a good place. Well, we may not open up Manatee High. Right off the top of my head, I can't remember. There's, I think Sug is one of them, but there's 3 schools under construction this year that won't be used as shelters also. But looking at this map, which is live during a storm, would tell you which shelters are open. If you must evacuate, go tens of miles, not hundreds of miles. I joke about this. Find a family or friend, maybe out in Lakewood Ranch or Mayaca, and go visit them during the storm if you live in an evacuation area. You can also maybe go to a hotel out of the area or totally leave the area, but if you do, leave in plenty time. So a friend of mine during Irma procrastinated and it ended up taking him 18 hours to get to Atlanta, which is about an 8-hour trip on a given day. Shelters are a last resort. They're located in schools. Not all schools are shelters, not all open at the same time. We used to say they were a lifeboat and not a pleasure cruise. Now they're more like a kayak. They will get you there. They will protect you. It's a safe roof over your head. They will feed you. The only shelters with generators are the special needs shelter. If you look at this picture, people are crammed in there. I could say the shelters provide nothing other than a space and food. And when we talk about food, it's whatever they're feeding the kids at the school at the time. So you need to bring your own chair, your own sleeping bag, etc. So we encourage you to come up with a different plan. But if you need a shelter, they're there, they're safe. They have police officers there to protect you, and you will be fed. So we don't want to say not go, but we want to say try to go somewhere else but a shelter. Allow them enough that those that have nowhere else to go, allow them to go. Special needs, the best way I put this is if you need power to live, oxygen dependent, electric dependent, and then Alzheimer and dementia, we have 2 special shelters that are powered by generators that we ask you, and again, this mymanatee.org/needs, pre-register so we know how many people is coming so we can properly staff it, have enough nurses, have enough cots there for you and 1 caretaker per person. So if you are oxygen dependent, electrical dependent, or Alzheimer or dementia, or you know of a family member or a loved one, please sign up early. Don't wait to the last minute. Alert Manatee and Manatee Ready are 2 new platforms that we're using this year. Alert Manatee can be found at mymanatee.org, Alert Manatee, and those are alerts that we as emergency management will issue directly from us. They could be weather alerts or shelter openings or whatever, but they come directly from us. Manatee Ready is very easy from your cell phone. You text the word Manatee Ready, all one word, to 888-777, 888-777. And those are short text messages. We used it on the onset of COVID, saying, reminders, wear your mask, social distancing, testing sites were at certain locations. So another good way to stay informed with what's going on in Manatee County. Yes, I work for Manatee County government, but our branch is for all residents in all cities in Manatee County. We serve everyone and we want to protect everyone. CERT teams, we've talked about this before. The best way I describe these are like a neighborhood watch. These are community-based teams that are specially trained. It's about a 25-hour course to help be our eyes and ears during an emergency, to let us know what's going on. They learn a little bit of first aid, but they're our eyes and ears during an emergency. They would be able to say, there's a down power line, don't go anywhere near. So if you would like to form a team in your neighborhood, shortly we'll start up training classes again, but a good resource, again, community-based, very similar to Neighborhood Watch. I'm trying to keep it under. It looks like I've run a little bit over, but we're on Facebook, Twitter, and so forth. I know the city has theirs too. Real quick, when you call 911, it's to report an emergency, a fire, an accident, a medical problem. Call 311 for routine information. What shelters are open, where sandbags are, things like that. Don't tie up 911 with non-emergency calls. I hope I wasn't too quick. I want to get this information out. We do have, like I said, at the various libraries, and I believe police department and city halls currently have the 2020 guides. You can get it online, and shortly we'll have the 2021 guides. But with that, here's my information, and what I'll do is I'll turn it over to the mayor first for any comments, and then we'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you giving all that information. And no, I don't think it was too long. It's very important information. And even if we don't have people watching tonight, we'll be able to continue to get it on all the links and get it out there as we get closer to the hurricane season. So at this time, if we have anybody that has any questions, we can turn it over and let them ask their questions.
You'll have to unmute yourself, so go ahead. If you're on your computer, you should have a button that says unmute, and on your phone, you should be able to unmute it. So anyone with questions? I'm going to try to unmute everyone.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just have I'm pretty new to Florida, actually only since September, and I'm curious, and I'm in Lakewood Ranch, which is nowhere near water.
Right.
But I lived in Long Beach in New York, which was right on the water. So I'm just curious, if you're away from water, what's the real danger from a hurricane, or what should you really prepare for?
Two things. One is wind. And so if you're fairly new, I think you probably know where Mayaca City is, do you?
Yes, yes,
How about Arcadia?
yes.
Okay. So if Hurricane Michael would have come in off of Anna Maria Island, Arcadia would have had over 100-mile-an-hour winds. So that's important to know because, again, you may live in a well-constructed home, but maybe your neighbors don't, or there's trees. That the one thing we found during Irma, and I think the mayor would agree too, is that we lost so many 100-year-old trees because what had happened was it had rained and rained and rained and rained. The water became saturated. Then now the wind comes through and blew those over. Could be debris from people's pool cages. And then the other thing too, and I spoke to a group from Lakewood Ranch yesterday, is there's a lot of little ponds and all, so you're not worried about the storm surge. But again, I'll go back to 2017 in South Manatee County. In about a 36-hour period, we had 23 inches of rain. I'll repeat that, 23 inches of rain. Nowhere, no how anybody's prepared for that amount of rain. So you could see what we call localized flooding, which depending on, and again, I think the mayor knows too, he's been here all his life. If we got even 3 inches of rain in several hours, the ground would be so saturated and you would still have some localized flooding. There's no way of preventing that. So if you're way out there, the thing would be winds and what we call the debris field, so things blowing around. And number two, localized flooding. And what really, I'm going to say this as nice as I can, people love to sightsee. And if there's flooded roads, the bigger the vehicle, they actually cause waves with that water that could penetrate your home, even though you're not flooded, the street is. And if they come through there too fast, it creates, so you could have some, again, localized flooding if that helped.
That's great, thank you. I have another question about, I was thinking about it when you said winds. Is there anything special to do about Lanai's?
No, sir, cross your fingers. I do think that better and better, they're trying to secure them in different ways. I'm not an architect, but it is aluminum and there are bolts, but there are ways of trying to keep it better secured. But again, when I said earlier about here's 5 roofs that was ripped off during the recent tornadoes. So that's a lot to totally tie down and be 100%.
Okay. Well, thanks for your help.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Anyone else with a question?
Steve, I think one of the things that I thought of when he asked that question, obviously the storm surge isn't as bad in Lakewood Ranch, but I know that we've always have when there's that much saturation in the trees, don't always fall right at the time that the wind's blowing the hardest.
Mhm.
So you get people that go outside their house, and there's times we've had where trees would fall after the wind had stopped because they were so damaged already and the danger of the branches falling. So you've got to be careful. Think about that also, that falling debris after the storm has stopped.
You're very correct, Mayor. One thing is more people die and are injured after a storm than during the storm. Exactly what your mayor's saying is fallen trees. We may have a chainsaw in our garage that maybe would clip a limb here and there once a year, and then you get out there trying to cut down trees and so forth. You cut yourself. Unfortunately, when I was in Michael, a fire chief up there trying to help his neighbor clean his property was killed by a fallen tree. Oh boy, was it Dorian, I believe, here on Anna Maria Island.
Mhm.
Someone went back in their home. It was a rental. So the owner of the property entered the home after the storm and was electrocuted because he had water intrusion and the electric was on. So more people die and get injured after that storm. I think a lot of spouses would agree. Their husbands may not be thinking the right way, climbing up on roofs, using chainsaws. So be very careful after a storm and know your limitations. All right, anyone else? Anyone else? Any ending comments, Mayor?
All right, yeah, I'd just like to thank you, Stephen. I think that it's important, even though, you've got the county government and the city government, and, we've got other cities, but we all work together when something like this happens because it's still all one county, and there's no way we can be doing different things. And I think it's important for our citizens to really to watch and heed all of the advice and be careful and be prepared. And that's the most important thing. Be prepared and work together as a community. We really appreciate what you've done. And obviously, this will be posted on our website, cityofbradenton.com, and going forward, and mountaincounty.org is a great site, and we'll just work together and keep going forward and pray that we have a light storm season.
All righty. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice night.
Thank you. Good night. Yes, yeah, I was able to get volume when it came up. So, but no, perfect. I appreciate it.
Okay, you take care, and I'll send Jeannie the link. Take care. Bye-bye.